so much time you can spend in a cupboard before you resolve or your bladder gives out. And I was ready to give in. So ready. But then I heard them, the voices. Him and his lockdown breaking privates. I wanted to shout, just call out to them saying, I'm in here. But they were talking and taking photos. All of that strange murderous shit, and they were taking photos. I mean, who does that? Who meets up just to... And they were laughing. I will never forget the laughing. I don't want to talk about it. So I changed my mind. I was going to stay absolutely quiet. And just as they were leaving, my phone goes off. Why didn't I put it on silent? What was I thinking? And as it happens, I hear footsteps slowly walking towards the cupboard. I was pissing myself. Well, no, I wasn't. But, you know. I will never forget the sight of that door slowly opening and his face peering in.
Okay, so I called him to explain, apologise about the camera, but it went to voicemail. I called his mum and she said he was out with his dad on a photography course, actually. Ironic, isn't it? So I was actually quite surprised that they were running a photography course during the lockdown, but apparently it's with the police. That made sense. In a guy's garden shed. So, yeah. I went down to apologise, say I'm sorry, all that, and I was honestly completely blown away. All these fake mannequin victims, fake blood, it was incredible, but a weird way to make a living. Anyhow, I explained what had happened and everyone just laughed, made fun of me a little, which hurt a bit, but it was good. It took the focus off of me being a thief. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get any stranger, just as we were all leaving, see, I was the last one out, and when I was just about to leave, I thought I heard a phone ringing from inside of some wardrobe thing. It was just backed up against the wall, and so I went over to it. There was a padlock, but the key was inside of it. So I just slowly opened the door, and there was a girl inside. Next thing I know, we're on the news.
I didn't think about it much. The guy I met at the police station, after the whole rescue thing. I mean, I've given my number, and he hadn't rung, which sorta hurts, but not too much. I mean, I barely knew the guy. But then, all of a sudden, he was all over the news. Some cutesy little story about a guy finding a girl locked inside a cupboard in a garden shed used for training police photographers. There was more to it than that, but the key thing is, he'd rescued someone, and I'd rescued someone. And if that isn't the universe calling to me, then I don't know what is. And to be honest, fame is sort of a turn on. So I sent him a message, said we should meet up. He suggested the Potomac waterfront. It's the place now where you can just meet. You just pretend you're going out for a walk, which is still allowed, like Chris Bishop does with his dog. We actually saw him. He didn't wave out or anything. That sort of fame doesn't do it for me.
So I've been following her for a little bit now. The surfer girl, I mean. rescued me. You don't share a traumatic life and death moment like that without there being some sort of connection between you two. Happens to soldiers during the wars. I've read all about it. It's very interesting. And when you're fit, like supremely fit, like I am, it boosts your confidence. And I wouldn't say I'm stalking her. I'm not stalking her. I've just become aware of her movements. And I was aware that she was going down to the Botany Beach. And I knew I was going down to the Botany Beach as well. So I ran down. I got a new running singlet from online. It's essential apparently. But, you know, I looked good in it. But, not good enough. Apparently. Because she was with this guy. I recognized him. I was sure of it. But, anyway, they were laughing and they're doing that thing where you look into each other's eyes and then pretend you didn't. Yeah, that just made me really sad. And there was a takeaway truck operating. I lost my self-discipline for a moment. I let it slip. I got a nice cheesy bacon burger to cheer me up. It was so good. But then this dude started shouting at me. So I started to run and then he starts to follow me.
Now it seemed clear to me that if someone had thought it was funny to set me up in that way, then they'd probably be down here, watching. That makes sense, right? Sitting somewhere on a bench, on the sunshine, laughing at this poor schmuck who dared to believe in happiness. Probably. He even took photographs. Right? And my lonely, disappointed face is sitting somewhere in an online board of hatred. But you don't get mad. You get even. I worked for him once. And yes, I already knew it was a man. Then he wouldn't be able to resist a second shot at it. I went down there, to the same place. 3 days in a row, waiting for him to make a mistake. Waiting for him to give himself away. And then he did it. Sauntered past me like he didn't have a care in the world. His ugly great mouth wrapped around, well, it had to be, didn't it? A bacon roll. I didn't think. I acted. Shouted out. Ran at him. And he ran off. Clearly guilty. Disregarded the roll on the footpath. And he gapped it. He was fit. I'll give him that much. He'd been training. But where he had athletic superiority, I had anger. It fueled me. I should have looked, though, before I ran out onto the road. I should have checked for bicycles.
Getting a message from my old neighbour was strange enough. Him asking to meet me on the foreshore was doubly weird. And if I hadn't been so bored, maybe I wouldn't have even thought about going. But it's better than a grumpy father and online school. Basically, anything's better than that. So I went, and I waited, and he didn't show. Texted him and got nothing back. Maybe it was a prank. I don't know. He was always a little bit unusual. But the sun was shining and there were worse places to be. So I took the scenic route home. Up the hill, that's where something strange happened. There was this guy with flaming red hair who just came running out of the bushes, and a girl chasing him. There was one other girl who came after that, and holding her hand was this adorable little 4-year-old. The last girl I recognised. So I stopped, of course, and asked her what was going on, all the while keeping a safe 2-metre distance. What she told me was she thought she knew where Dwayne was.
The first bit, you know. He was hiding under the bushes, talking to a stranger. Which is such a devil child move. It's bad enough talking to strangers in these times, but the kind of strangers you find lurking under bushes. I mean, come on. He had a mane of flaming red hair and crazy conspiratorial eyes, and for a moment I thought he'd actually done it. The little shit is communing with the devil. But he wasn't. It was just a weird guy with a tall tale to tell. It was about Dwayne. He told me he'd found Dwayne. He'd solved the mystery. You see, I know Dwayne. We're at the same school. But according to this guy, I actually don't. See, apparently Dwayne's not his real name. He's actually a guy named Josh. And the real Dwayne, who pretends to be Josh, goes to Hibbs. They swapped identities years ago when they started college. Josh was meant to go to Hibbs but didn't want to. Understandable. And Dwayne was only enrolled at Hutt Valley because his parents couldn't afford Hibbs. Well, they got to talking and spotted an opportunity. It's one of those stories that's so mad it might just be true. And that's why he was in the bushes, apparently. Listening in on two people who had met at the park just below. And had uncovered some of the details. His stuff is crazy.
It was fun, you know. We laughed a lot at all the same things. She thought I was funny. Not a lot of people think I'm funny. I was really into that.
See, at first it was really good. I mean, okay, I'm realistic. A part of me knew it was just a case of COVID love, but that didn't stop me from hoping.
She does karate. She's pretty good. She could kick my ass if she needed to. I like that. It keeps things simple. You know exactly where you are with a girl then.
I mean, it's okay to hope, right? It's gotta be right to hope.
So, yeah, honestly, I liked her a lot.
Whenever we met, he'd bring along some of my favourite foods. Those toffee things, for instance. I mentioned them one time, and then the next time he had them. It's very thoughtful.
I heard at first a sound in the bushes behind us, rustling like a wicker crashing about.
He'd ask me about my family, and he'd tell me stories about his own. And when I talked, he'd listen. You know how rare that is, a guy that knows how to listen. It's a pretty simple thing to function, but most guys are installed without it, apparently. There should be an app for it.
Except that there aren't any, liquors around here.
I liked him a lot. It was a proper bummer when it fell apart.
I'm a pacifist. Basically, I don't think you should resort to violence. I think you can always find reasons to hit people, but you never should. My father taught me that.
It was a guy. There was this guy just crouching there, watching us. So of course I wanted to go and kick his ass. It's what I'm good at. I have training. Seems a shame to waste that, but he was all like, no, let him go.
He's a good man. I tried to explain, but straight away I could tell she didn't understand. Same planet, but different worlds.
See, by the time I decided to go after him, it was too late. He already had a good start on us, and I'm always going to be a little resentful about that I was made to hesitate. Oh well.
It taught me a lot, though. About myself, mostly. That's the one positive thing about having your heart broken. You learn stuff.
It's like they say, it's a hard road finding the perfect man.
I ran like the wind. She was persistent. I mean, I'll give her that. But fury is no match for guile, nor blind terror. Well, it didn't matter that they saw me, for I already had everything I needed. I've solved it. I have solved the mystery. Dwayne is not Dwayne. I knew it all along. Nothing is as it seems. It all comes down to zoning, that government conspiracy whereby each and every one of our impressionable little minds is herded into our own educational cattle pen, where we are allowed to mix only with those with whom we live in an outdated attempt to control the flow of information, to stifle the voices of the rebellious. Ha! Have they never heard of the internet? Again, ha! Ha! Actually, do you think I'm overdoing it with the ha's a little? Never mind. It just feels so good to be right. Might as well enjoy it. Well, it's too late now, because the ideas are out there now. Circulating, infecting minds, reshaping them, leading us all to the final glowing light of truth. But Josh, we shall call him by his real name now, shall we? Had the misfortune of living exactly one street beyond the mighty Hutt Valley High School enrollment zone, and the added problem of parents who thought that Hibbs would be a good option. His good fortune, however, was to have met the true Dwayne, who had been enrolled at HVHS, but for reasons beyond comprehension, dreamed of the Hibbs education. So I rang his mate Nick, told him all about it. I thought he'd be interested to hear.
Okay, so shit, let's get this right. For 3 whole years, every morning, Dwayne left his house as Josh, dressed in his Hibbs uniform. Met up with the real Dwayne, now known as Josh. They would swap uniforms and identities and attend different schools. For 3 long years, they got away with it. Their parents just assumed the emails from school were about their child. Why wouldn't they? And if the rumours were true, Dwayne's parents even attended Josh's parent-teacher interviews without anybody realising the fraud. Sort of brilliant, if you think about it. I mean, I don't blame them. Josh. For lying to me. I mean, Hibbs, I get that. We all get that. And then COVID-19 happened. His mum freaked out and drove to Hibbs to pick him up. And he wasn't there. Clearly. But the teacher said he was. They brought out the real Dwayne, and then shit hit the fan. He doesn't even live where I thought he lived. The whole thing was a lie. I wanted to meet the real Dwayne just to see. I know a couple of guys at Hibbs, so it wasn't hard tracking him down. He was on the waterfront. I spotted him straight away, just sitting on a park bench. Even though you're not meant to. He was watching these 2 girls out in the water, up to their waist about, just having a full-on fight. We watched it together. It was sort of funny.
So the whole sitting on the strangers thing didn't quite work out the way I was hoping it would. Like, I don't know what happened to Sean. Must have got cold feet, I guess. Speaking of cold feet, there was the bonus of 2 girls out in the water having a full-on fight. So I got to see that, I guess. I'm Dwayne, by the way. Not the Dwayne you've all been looking for. The other Dwayne. The real Dwayne. But I've been Josh for the last 3 years. Long story. I want to be an MP when I grow up, and I thought Hibbs was just the better way forward for that. I saw Chris Bishop walk past us before. He's kind of my hero. Anyways, the fight was hilarious. So like, one girl's out there in the water with her dog, taking photos, I think. Fair enough, beautiful day. Then the other girl comes screaming at her and piles into the water, right? Dog's barking, going crazy. At first it's all screaming and social distancing, but then one girl grabs the other girl's hair, and it was on. I don't know what they were fighting about. People are strange.
So, dogs are trending now. And I had the perfect shoot organized. I don't have a dog myself, but it doesn't matter. You can hire them for image enhancement opportunities. There's a company down in the hut who will do that. So I looked through their catalog for the one that would best complement my skin tone. I went for a husky. I've always loved huskies. And so my idea was, since it was such a perfect day, the sky was blue, the water flat, and the harbor held by the hill's dark arms. Actually, that's a pretty good line. I might just have to post it. One moment. Sorry. Right, so my idea was to get that shot of my hair flicking back out of the water while the water cascades down off it. And in the background, the dog's leaping with joy. I think it really speaks to who I am. It really captures the essence of me. It was hard to get, though, as a selfie, especially since my phone's not waterproof. But I persevered. I stuck to it. Until she came along. This crazy woman plowed into the water and started to come at me, accusing me of all these things that I still do not understand. I suppose lockdown gets to people in different ways.
At first, I thought the whole Sean game was going to be a washout. I sat and watched, looking for whoever it was to set the whole thing up. I was angry. I can tell you that. I have my own history with dating sites. I'm not going to get into that here, but tricking people like that, it's just cruel. But nothing was happening. Unless you count some crazy guy chasing someone who maybe stole his bacon roll or something, or a bike crash, but nobody obviously waiting to mock their Tinder fodder. But then I saw her. The husky was the giveaway. That was their marker, right in every post. I'll be the one walking a husky. And there she was, out in the water if you please, playing with the dog and taking photos of herself. No doubt for her latest hilarious update of the exploitation of the hopeful and lonely. I didn't hold back, and I'm proud of that, to tell you the truth. I just wadded in and let rip. She hit me first, though. I want to make that clear. She threw the first punch. I threw the last one.
I've given up completely. If school is determined to make a mockery of my education, then what's the point in even participating? That's right, me, the model student, I'm going to become a dropout. Not totally, obviously, but I'm cutting back, down to 6 hours a day. I've even been going for walks. They can be quite exciting. Like yesterday, I went down to the foreshore and I saw someone from school. Someone I know and used to respect. I respected her because she respected mathematics. You know? She took it seriously. I admire that. But I don't respect her now. That's for certain. I don't respect people who wade into the ocean shouting obscenities and punching people. Honestly, completely out of nowhere. And as far as I could tell, breaking social conventions just as much as she was smashing social distancing rules. And then, when a victim ran sobbing from the water, she just watched her go. She even raised a defiant finger in her direction, which is just common. I don't do that sort of thing. I offer support and comfort when it was required. And despite the ever-present threat of community contagion, and despite the glares of intolerant passers-by, I gave that poor young woman a hug. Right there on the waterfront, I told her the big comforting lie. I said, everything's gonna be all right.
I was walking down by the waterfront. Walking, stalking, it's the same difference, right? And they rhymed, so yeah. She was into me, okay? And she was gonna come on to me. I was sure of it. So, I kept my eyes open. And I just happened to see her going out for a walk. No, I wasn't hanging outside her house waiting for her, because that would be creepy. I happened to see her going out for a walk while I was out for a walk on my own for no particular reason. It was a coincidence, okay? Don't look at me like that. And anyway, even if I maybe was stalking her a little bit, didn't matter, because she wasn't just walking. She was going to meet someone. It was pretty full on, actually. Like, they just hugged each other, broad daylight, middle of lockdown. And there was this dog there too, a husky. I'm learning to read the signs, and dogs are often a sign. They're not always, though. It's complicated. But yeah, I'm not gonna say there wasn't some little part of me that didn't die in that moment. That little part of me where my secret dreams take hold. But it'll grow back though. I've heard it grows back. And meanwhile, the good news is I've joined an underground wine club. So
she gave me a text, one of my customers, and it said, instead of the normal drop-off, come and meet me on the fire break. I want to have a drink and watch the sun go down. It's probably not smart from a business perspective getting that close to your customers, but I was never in it for the money. I was in it for the wine. So I put a Riesling in my backpack with 2 plastic glasses and a Snaplock bag filled with ice. And we spent the last daylight hours sipping a medium dry number out of Central Otago. We'd been strangers before the lockdown, but circumstances had brought us together in a way I suppose it must have done for a lot of people. New friendships forged, new hobbies developed, new secrets to stash away. She was good company, and wine has this way of making you feel nostalgic, so even as the sun was shining its last of level 4, for now at least, there was a part of me already missing it. Down below in the valley, the first workers were already making their way to the fast food joints, getting the deep fryers ready for another round of punishment. And I wondered out loud if whether in years to come, all the little pains and frustrations would melt away. And we'd remember this instead as a special time. A time when we slowed down and stopped fretting over the things that never really mattered. A time when we learnt the value of a fine but reasonably priced wine and the smile of a stranger.
So I spent the end of level 4 out running along the fire breaks. I thought that might be the one place where I wouldn't have to endure the sight of couples enjoying one another's company. He's not going to message me back. I get that now. In fact, words out, he's not even called Dwayne. Everything, the whole damned package, was a lie. I like running. There's a special kind of pain it brings. Cleansing, clarifying pain. The aching in your legs, the burning in your lungs. Once you've convinced yourself that's nothing to be worried about and you don't need testing. The sting of sweat in your eye. Simple pain can replace complex pain when you push hard enough. They mix together, dilute. I crested the final rise just as the last of the sun's rays shot out from behind a peak on the western hills. I was feeling better then, restored. Suppose it was a bad time to come across a young couple sitting side by side, drinking wine. It's tricky, this whole love thing. Think I might just stick to running for a while. Maybe I should get a job. I heard they're advertising for shelf stackers down at the supermarket.
So yeah, things really fell apart for me. During the whole lockdown, just the shifts at the supermarket, mostly night stacking, which is good. It keeps me away from the customers. Not that I was scared of catching the virus, I just don't want anyone I knew seeing me. Same reason I never used my camera for any of this documentary. It's all been a bit of a mess, to tell the truth. My name's Josh, but everyone at school thinks I'm called Dwayne. Or at least they did. Until our mums found out we've been swapping our educational identities, so to speak. NZQA aren't impressed because we got each other credits and everything. And there was a girl I sort of might have said I'll go out with before the whole lockdown started. And then there's the wine girl, the one I really like. And they say we'll be back at school in a couple of weeks. But technically, I can't attend Hutt High School anymore because I was there under false pretenses. So I don't really know what's going to happen. I tried ringing my friend, sort of talk it through, but it went straight to voicemail. And then she texted me. She said she was stuck in a cupboard. I wonder if she got out.